Hi everyone, my name is Matt, also known as UKAstroNut, and today I'm going to try and explain to you what a solar eclipse is. So I did a video previously which was trying to explain why you can see the sun and the moon in the same sky at the same time, and this video kind of leads on from this. So part of this fun fact that you can see the sun and the moon in the same sky is that sometimes when this happens it's actually because it's a solar eclipse. Now a solar eclipse is when the light from the sun is blocked by the moon, so that when we look at the sun here on Earth, the moon passes directly in front of the sun and it blocks out all the light. So during the middle of the day you just get complete pitch black because there's no light from the sun coming. You can also have partial eclipses where the moon kind of goes part of the way across the sun, so it blocks out, half or a quarter of the sunlight. And this is the same idea as a total eclipse, but it's just a slightly different situation, but they're basically the same thing. So in this video I'm going to try to explain to you what a total eclipse is, what a solar eclipse is. I'm going to do this in two ways. So I'm going to get the objects I used in the previous video and why you can see the sun and the moon. I'm going to try to show you the layout of the whole sun, earth, moon and explain why this happens. And I'll also do some stuff on the whiteboard to try and explain it as well a bit better. So first things first, I'm going to get some objects out and I'm going to show you what the sun, earth, moon system looks like and how this causes a total solar eclipse. So, first things first, I'm going to try and explain what a solar eclipse is by just using these objects as I did before, and then I'll also do some pictures on the whiteboard and try and explain it a bit clearer. This is what I'm trying to do first. So we're back here, as I did in the previous video, where this is the sun, this is the earth, and this is the moon. And the little black mark here, if you can just about see it, this is the guy who's on the earth and he's looking at the sun. So this is the guy we're interested in. Now, I told you before that the moon goes around the earth spins and the moon spins and everything goes around the sun. So you basically have the earth going around here, the moon going around it, the earth going around here, meanwhile the earth is spinning. So it's a very, very confusing system. It's very, very hard to try and do with your hands. Basically, as the moon is somewhere like this, so there's a triangle here between these three objects, what happens is the light from the sun hits this side of the moon, and anyone on Earth can see this moon. And if you're this guy here, you can just about see the moon here, and you can also see the sun in the same sky. If the moon is around the other side here, you can see the sun, if you're this guy here, but you can't see the moon, because it's around the other side of the Earth. So you'd have to see through the Earth to see it. So you can't see it. But the guy on the back of the Earth can see it, but he can't see the sun. Now there's a very special situation where the moon is in between the sun and the Earth. So in this situation, the light from the sun tries to come down and hit us here on Earth. The observer here, the guy here, is trying to see the sun, but there's a massive moon in the way. So it's basically blocking out the sunlight. Now, if it is in the exact right position, it can sweep straight across the sun. So if you have the sun here, imagine you're trying to look at the sun, and you have the moon that comes across, and you can get to a point where the moon just blocks the sun perfectly, and it will spin back around. Now, this is very, very rare. Well, it's not very rare, but it happens about once every 18 months or something like this. So what happens is, if you have the sun and the earth, the sun here, and then you have the earth here, and you have the moon like this. Now, you think they'd all go around sort of like this. What happens is the moon is slightly at an angle. So instead of going around like this, it always goes around the back and the front of the Earth compared to the sun. It's at a slight angle, so it sort of goes exaggerated. Is it going like this? But it goes some strange sort of angle compared to it. So what happens is sometimes it will block the sun, but sometimes it will be below the sun. So if you imagine you're here and you can see the sun, and the moon is here, you can still see that the Earth can clearly go straight to the sun, and the moon isn't in the way, because the moon is slightly below the Earth and the sun. But then sometimes it'll be right on the plane. Say if I try to get to the sun here, I'm basically knocking into this here. So because it's not on the same plane, it's at a different angle to the Earth, it means that only some of the time it'll actually cause an eclipse. But sometimes it'll also cause something called a partial eclipse, where the moon will slightly cover the sun, but it won't fully cover it. But this is basically how it works. When the moon gets between the Earth and the sun, as it goes all the way around, it can cause a total eclipse. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go onto the whiteboard. I'm going to just show you, draw a picture to try and explain it a little bit better. So I'm now going to try and use the whiteboard to try and explain how it works. So I try to show it to you on the table, but it's kind of hard to see, but I'm trying to explain it on a sort of a flat surface now that you can see straight away. So we have this situation going on here. So we have the sun here, and we have the earth here. Now the dashed lines, everything inside the dashed lines is light that will hit the earth. So this sort of cone here, everything inside the cone is basically light that's going to hit the earth. So this side of the earth here is going to be very, very light, and this side here is going to be very, very dark. Now, the solid lines I drew here, these two inner ones here, are basically to explain what the eclipse is going to look like. So let's say the moon is around here, okay? Now any light that comes from the sun is going to hit the side of the moon, but the moon isn't in between the sun and the earth. So it isn't going to stop any light from hitting the earth, because the light's still going to come all the way through. There's nothing blocking it. There's nothing inside this cone to try and stop the light. But if I put the moon somewhere like this, now you can see that part of the light, this very top part here, is going to be blocked by the moon from hitting the earth from the sun. Now there's a very sort of special point here, where if I put it right in the centre here, hopefully what you can see, if I try and hold it here, is that it's kind of blocking in between these two solid lines perfectly. And so up here you're still going to get light, but on the earth side of this inner cone, none of this light's going to get through because it's all going to hit the moon. So this small area that's on the surface here, this little bit, in between the two solid lines right at the surface of the earth, isn't going to have any light from the sun because the moon is going to block it. Now this doesn't happen very often because this goes around very quickly and the earth rotates around very quickly. So it's only a matter of a few minutes that's going to block the light. But in there's certain situations when the moon is perfectly between the earth and the sun, or it can be anywhere around here, you're going to get this eclipse because it's going to be perfectly in between the two objects and it's going to block all the light from the sun reaching us down here on earth. So that's what a solar eclipse is. A solar eclipse is just the times when the moon gets in between the sun and the earth. But don't forget, as I said, because the moon and if you have the sun here and the earth here, they go around on the same plane like this. You imagine the moon goes around an angle like this. So sometimes it's above the earth and sometimes below the earth. Which means sometimes it'll be perfectly blocking in front of the sun, but sometimes you can have the sun here, the earth here, and the moon can be down here below, down here. So what happens is, when this is between the earth and the sun like this, there's still nothing in between the earth and sun, because although the moon is kind of between them, it's below them, so it doesn't actually block out any of the light. So this happens once every 18 months or so. You get a total eclipse, where the earth, the sun, and the moon are all on the same plane together, like this. Sun, earth, moon, they're all on the same plane, and the light from the sun will be blocked by the moon from hitting the earth, and you get a total eclipse where you can't see the sun for a few minutes. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this tried to explain what a solar eclipse is, and hopefully the previous video tried to explain as well why you can see the sun and the moon in the same sky, because it's sort of a bit of a confusing thing, and you know, a lot of people try to confuse it by saying that the sun is during the day and the moon is at night and stuff like this. So hopefully these two videos are trying to explain these a little bit better. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave some comments. If you've got any questions or anything, I'll try to answer them in other videos. If not, don't forget to like, subscribe, all these kind of things. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.